Welcome to the Live Cost Construction Experience podcast. I'm Ciaran Brennan, co-founder of LiveCost.com. Finally, the construction sector has entered its digital transformation, meaning the way we operate our projects and businesses day to day is being disrupted. This podcast is designed to help you in all areas of your business. We do this by bringing in experts across all key areas of a construction business who share their stories, their challenges, wins and losses so others can learn from their experiences. To watch previous episodes, please visit livecost.com or search livecost.com across all popular social platforms. I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Live Cost Construction Experience. Delighted this week to be joined by the CEO of Addjust, Mr. Padraig Neylon. Padraig, how are you?
Good, Ciaran, how are you?
I'm not bad, we're not bad. We're back in the office environment, which is good to see. People that are sort of watching this on a week to week, listeners probably won't be able to see it obviously, but people who are watching it on a week to week will know. I've been doing this off the kitchen table for the last couple of months, so good to be back in the office environment. No staff in just yet, but it's just good to be able to get out of the house for a while. How have you found the last sort of 3 months, I suppose, from a personal point of view?
Yeah, I guess look, we're based on the West Coast here. We probably haven't had it too bad. I suppose we've, like yourself, have a couple of kids. I suppose just trying to keep those entertained is probably the biggest challenge of the day. But no, overall, we weren't hugely affected down here. But again, I suppose we face the same restrictions as everybody else. But look, we've been just been busy, just keeping the head down and getting stuff done.
Good stuff. Definitely want to get into Addjust and have a good chat about that, but I suppose what we like to do is give people an idea about the people behind the business. I mean, you started out as a QS. Take me right back to that. Why, not even why QS, why construction?
I guess I always had an interest. Like, I suppose my family were from a farming background, but I suppose construction was always on our doorstep, and would have always had an interest in, I suppose, building and creating stuff and whatever. Even could go back as far as the Lego days, but I guess. And then I was very interested in kind of business and economics and not so much accounting, but those two things, construction and business, kind of really the one that kind of sat in the middle of that was quantity surveying. So I just found it very interesting and very I suppose it's, for me, I suppose I know architects would say that, the fulcrum of the building industry is the design and whatever else, but I mean, ultimately no projects ever go ahead unless the money is right. It makes sense to everyone right the way through the life cycle of a project. So QSs are kind of at the heart of that. They get to, I think just it's interesting to see how a project ebbs and flows through its life cycle too, in terms of initial budget costs, trying to manage expectations. So really, I suppose, it's an interesting one. It's not, I suppose, the sexiest occupation out there, but it's
an important one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so you picked up a couple of jobs then. Did you sort of work for a couple of firms?
Yeah, I worked for a firm here in the West, and in 2009 I actually was still employed, but I just said, I'll try and go my own way, set up a consultancy. So I actually trained then as a building surveyor as well. So then we branched into like planning and kind of, I suppose it was the quieter times. So we kind of branched into a bit of everything, I suppose, in whatever we were qualified to do. So, I was a registered building surveyor, then a registered quantity surveyor. So really we kind of started picking up jobs that was very much somebody wanted at the very start of a project, whether it was a school or house or whatever it was, and they wanted us to bring the whole thing all the way through. Now, and at various times we bring in expertise like structural engineers and that kind of stuff, but it gave us a kind of a wide-ranging view of how everything works, the whole project life cycle. So we were stuck in at every aspect of it. And
at some point then, I suppose, while you're working away, you seen a problem.
Yeah.
Do you remember saying, like, this needs to be fixed, or was it one of them aha moments where you said, I'm going to do this, or was it something that was sort of niggling away at you over time that you? I suppose what was the problem? Talk about that. What was the problem that you seen out that you thought?
Definitely a niggle, I suppose, as I got busier. So one of the services I would have provided to contractors, then I suppose it kind of feeds into almost what the likes of yourselves are doing, is very managing, I suppose, the interim payments. So every month contractors. I maybe had 15, 20 contractors on my books. They ring me to do payments, to do the changes, to do all this stuff, and just found I was buried inside an Excel, moving information around, and a lot of it was repetitive. And then I set up my own spreadsheets, and then it became a bit more efficient. And then I was kind of going, right, I suppose it was that slow niggle that, like, right, my data sitting here on my computer, the other QS or the other architect has their data over there, they're not matching up, the contractors in between, the clients in between, there's nothing really talking to each other here. So really it was the communication issue, I suppose, was the lack of collaboration. Even though everybody was trying their best, in fairness now, I would say the vast majority of projects, everybody was trying their best to stay on top of things, but it just became more difficult. There wasn't as many resources, there was nobody to hire, so it was building up. So I was kind of going, right, I was very aware that there was technology there, and I wouldn't be a techie, but I would be very aware of what's live, and I would use a lot of technology to streamline a lot of the work that we do. But it's
was it more processes, getting like the process of dealing with contracts, stuff like that was getting slowed up? Did you feel like was that what the frustration was with it?
That was it, and getting responses back and that kind of stuff. And I suppose a lot of technology that we're kind of creating is email, Excel, all of these things. They're not. We keep saying, ours, what Addjust develops is contract management systems. Excel or email are not contract management tools. They're used, they're wedged in to help, but they're not actually.
It's an interesting point. Yeah, it's plastered across the front page of our website. Excel is not a construction cost management tool. Yeah, I fully agree with you there. Yeah. I mean,
Excel is it's an unbelievable product, but it doesn't do what is needed now in the industry, and it's a fast-moving industry like you have there as well. It's people want that instantaneous thing from their mobile phone. You're not going to go in and out of Excel sheets on that. They want to be able to record, and of course, like, no more than yourselves as well. It's like the paperwork is just building and building and building and building. So it's really management of all that kind of stuff.
And people want the information now. That's what we always find as well, is a big part of it. Contacting your client, contacting your architect, contacting the QS, and asking them to input information, send it across to you. Like, it doesn't need to be that complicated anymore. If everyone's collaborating, as you say, if we're all collaborating on in the one area, we're all up to date with what we need to be doing. But then we've got a live feed of data, we can make decisions and move forward. Fully agree with you, on the same page there. So big fear then, I'm sure, was you see a problem, you think, I understand this problem, I can go and fix this problem. I feel one problem is that you don't do tech. You say you're not a techie, so how do you go about fixing that one then? So you're considering opening up a tech business at this stage, but you don't do tech.
Yeah, and that's I suppose one of the things is I suppose it's it goes back to you listen to any of the successful people in the world, or one of my I suppose favorite successful people at the moment, Jurgen Klopp, is very much he admits he doesn't have all the expertise. You get in good people who are able to do that, and feed off that and just kind of let them manage this. So I suppose initially what we wanted to do was get a prototype up and running, and I would have had a good friend in Galway who had an app development company, and got them to develop a basic enough prototype for us. And again, we were I suppose like yourselves, we jumped onto the NDRC program, and that gave us just that bit of revenue to get that done. Then we kind of went out to people, showed, I suppose in essence the first product we developed was really good and really neat and concise. It was like a little change order app, but what it showed is to customers we were talking to was all this stuff can be basically put on your mobile phone. It can be easily done. It doesn't need to be lost in the mire of Excel and email. So that kind of led to our first kind of contract then with one of the local authorities, and basically we developed out from that then.
And was that was from the prototype you were able to bring on the first client? Brilliant.
Yeah, so and then at that point then, so they were, I suppose, essentially the company in Galway were App Design. They were I suppose they were like a subcontractor, but we kind of felt at that point then, right, we needed to bring this in-house. So I was very lucky. There's a guy here, Michael Kelly, who I would know quite well. He's unbelievable software engineer, and he lives close to us here. So I convinced him to leave the company he was with in the States. He was working remotely, and he came on board as CTO and as shareholder. So that has really brought us on, and we've a proper in-house software development team now. So
yeah, I mean, we're in like a very, very similar story to ours, absolutely nearly identical, to be quite honest with you. Came from industry, seen a problem, went to fix it, naturally said, well, in our world we just get subbies in to deal with this, so that will work, but it just doesn't in tech. It just doesn't. No. Like, there's harsh lessons to be learned in our game. You know, you get good subbies, you can go and build a good contracting business with good subbies attached to you, and make sure you look after them, do the right things by them, and they'll stick with you all the way through. For some reason in tech, it's a difficult one. You know, it is for early stage tech. But bigger companies is much easier because you've a bit more weight to help you get to do good contracts and make sure everyone's aligned on same KPIs. But I always say is, you go into an agency, they've got their own KPIs to deal with, and you're a very small part of that business. So a difficult one to deal. I mean, for those who don't know, just bring you back a step. For those who don't know, the NDRC, we've both been through that as well. National Digital Research Centre. Why did you feel that would be a good thing to do and go through their accelerator?
I guess, well, to be honest, I initially, back in 2016, I just approached our enterprise board here in Clare, and I explained what we were thinking of doing, and I had a fairly, I'd kind of been putting together a bit of a brief, and I was fairly certain of what was going to go into it. And I spoke to them, and they said, look, you need to talk to the NDRC. So I made contact then, and just like the timing was perfect. I think that was October, and they were just the closing for the spring launchpad was closing, I think, in maybe like 2 weeks later. So I had to get an application in, and I had a lot of stuff there anyway ready. So that was really the reason. And then I suppose it just kind of grand. Okay, the money was obviously an attractive thing, but it just felt like there was a good fit. They were kind of forward thinking, or as forward thinking as we were, and they kind of fitted the brief. And I found the experience with them really good. And I don't know whether we'd be where we are, even though they kind of get you to pull back a little bit and kind of say, right, are you sure this is the right product? We're back to the product I had initially kind of gone with. They did tell us to pull back, but I think that was all a good process, and I think we've slowly built as opposed to trying to speed off into the sunset and crashing into the moon.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing there, haven't gone through, and I wouldn't mind getting your biggest takeaway from it as well. But I mean, for ours, it was, and you touch on something there. You go at these things 100 mile an hour, especially in new business. You think, I've got to get this off the ground, and it is 100 mile an hour. And the biggest takeaway for me with the NDRC was the fact that they made you stop, but not just stop, spend 6 weeks talking to customers. Like, and for us in the environment we come from, you can't stop and talk to people for 6 weeks. You can't. It doesn't happen. So you got to keep moving forward, keep go, and it's 100 miles an hour. But that process was huge for me to be able to sit back. And I remember myself and Noel, who's business partner, like the result we got at the end of that 6 weeks was just wow. We've actually had 6 weeks here to talk to hundreds of people that could be potential customers. We were able to scratch off who we thought could be customers. They definitely won't be customers, and get to that point, and they just nailed that what we had in mind wasn't, some elements of it were made a ton of sense, and there's other elements that actually didn't make that much sense, so we were able to scratch them off. What was your biggest takeaway, do you think, from the, whatever it is 12 weeks, I think it is 14 weeks?
Yeah, I guess I suppose something, I guess to develop patience. I mean, I'm a very impatient person, but I think a lot of people who go in like us into this type of thing, we kind of expect to be one of these unicorns, and the realization that, look, that's more than likely not going to happen. So build a good, steady, solid business, and just slow down, go back. Like the slower and the more solid approach you take to it. I think I would think, especially after the NDRC experience, we've made very few decisions that we've had to go back on. In terms of, like, we've really, every decision that we take, we highly considered. Even like hires and stuff like that, there's no point rushing into just hiring 5. Even we got investment there from through Enterprise Ireland as well, but really we've just consolidated on building our products, refining our products, making them better. We've just hired our digital marketing guy there now a few weeks ago. we're ready for him now. So it's like, don't make the decision until you have it fully considered. And I think that's probably the one thing I would really kind of take from NDRC, is that they change your mindset to be much more considered and much more focused in your approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree. We've great experience there and great time for the NDRC. Who would be some of your current customers then, and what would you say the biggest problem you solve for them is today?
Yeah, so I guess at this point in time, we've 3 products out there. 2 of them have just been finished. So one of them is a local authority one. So it's a quite a complicated one. It's what we have is, I don't know if people are aware of like multi-operator frameworks. Usually, like universities, any public bodies may work or operate multi-operator frameworks. This is where they're carrying out extensive works over, a number of years, but they have a framework of contractors. So our system, their term pay for the likes of Dublin City Council, they would manage about 1,000 void projects a year, so refurbishing jobs, getting them back into the social housing market. And our system manages the complete contract management, right through from going out scoping the works on the mobile, all the way through to final payment, and even managing all that happens in between. And it's very much contract based, so it's I know where the likes of yours measures the actual costs that for contractors and stuff. This is much more around the contractual stuff and payments and recommendations and certificates and all that stuff. So there hasn't, to our knowledge, been one of those built anywhere in the world yet. Now, as in, there has been contract management systems, but none that handle multi-operator frameworks in the way we do, whereby we feed off. We have 56,000 line items for the likes of Dublin City Council embedded in our system, all priced. So when the scope of works is created, we automate the procurement in terms of the contractors that are on that. They don't have to spend 2 weeks repricing that work. Our system automatically reprices it. So I suppose what it does is it shaves the amount of time it takes for the delivery of each of those social houses as well. And we're close. Well, we're in negotiations with 3 other local authorities, hopefully closing those out now in the next couple of weeks as well. So that's one of the products. The other product then is Addjust. Our main product is basically focused on capital works projects. So whether it's a large school or a large hospital or whatever it is, and basically what it does is brings the client, the design team, and the contractor, the main contractor, in and basically manages all the contractual issues. All the communication flows through it. So again, going back to email does not exist on this, only to notify people every morning what their actions are. And what it does is so we take the public works contracts and we basically spit them out in a digital format and in a workflow. So we take all the workflows out of those and basically prompt everyone to stay in tune with the contract. And I mean, what that just does is just creates what we call a good contract, where everyone knows their role, everyone knows what action is next, and everyone is on board with the program. So
you're taking existing workflows, and I suppose one of the advantages of coming from industry is you naturally understand the workflow and you're digitizing them. So you're taking them away from various different systems and keeping them into one place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then our last product is Big Work. So this is kind of one that we're pushing out to try and kind of at the mass market. And it's I guess look, a lot of my experience around, I would have done a lot of work in South Dublin for contractors, and as a QS managing managing the payments and all that stuff. But it was very much the clients were always looking for right, where are we on budget? Because it was coming to, as I always say, once the building works were finished, it was down to the expensive part where the nice kitchen was being looked at, and they were going to the nice furniture, looking at Italian marble and all this stuff. But ultimately, they never knew how much they had to spend at that point. And what we want to do is give clients that knowledge once they come to that point, so they have visibility on their budget right the way through. So what we've done is collaborated all. So every bit of information and data from the client's QS and from the architect and from the contractor's QS, they're feeding it into the one system, so that we'll be able to give the clients, be it Mary and John, who are building a big extension in Blackrock, they can actually hop onto their phone and say, right, actually look, looks like we were going to spend 500,000, we're at 550 now, we need to roll back on X, Y, and Z in our finishes. And that was the I suppose the crux of the big problem that I saw out there in the industry, that they didn't have that visibility.
Yeah, no, that sounds brilliant. Actually, be very interested in having a look at that for our own customers as well. So we'll chat about that separately. You touched on Enterprise Ireland there. So you've been invested in by Enterprise Ireland, is it?
Yeah, that's right. So we one of the things from NDRC, actually, we applied for CSF funding then shortly after. That was in April of 2017. So we got accepted onto that, and we got follow-up investment there just earlier this year. So with a private investor. So
brilliant. So that's again similar to ourselves. So one of the things I know with Enterprise Ireland is they look for your global ambition. So what's the plan there? I mean, how do you see? I mean, how did you pitch that to Enterprise Ireland? I mean, to even get it, what is the plan? I mean, do you see this going global? Is it one step at a time? What's next?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like Ireland's a great market to test products and tests out of stuff, because I think we're fairly honest in our critique. So, but definitely, I mean, we've just even this morning we just started reaching out to so for the likes of TermPay and Addjust, we started reaching out to local authorities and housing associations in the UK. Again, generally, Ireland is obviously a global country now, very much so, and stuff that's developed here is very much applicable across the globe. And then a lot of companies. So for our other product where there's capital works going on, we're speaking with some companies who have worldwide operations. So what we're trying to do is kind of say to them, look, for any future contracts, no matter where it is, once you have a workflow and a contract, a specific contract that you like to work to, we can embed that and you can operate all your contracts worldwide on a similar system. So I think, I mean, there's huge scope to bring this abroad. The likes of Big Work then for the domestic housing contracts. The UK, I've a cousin living in London as well, so she's embarking on a project like this down in Wimbledon, and this, like, every second property has been refurbished or there's jobs being done. So that to us is the next progression. Early next year we hope to be advertising this in the UK.
Brilliant.
And again, it's very applicable. It's again, the contracts, the kind of like RIBA contracts and RII contracts are broadly similar, and generally speaking they follow a similar pattern. Now within our system you can kind of bespoke stuff, or you can select the contract and the workflows are automatically brought in, but ultimately the contracts generally follow a similar pattern, so that's what we're looking at.
I think one of the advantages we have as Irish tech companies is that we never build for this market. When we set out and build product, I've spoke to a lot of guys in the same position to ourselves, and nobody that I've ever spoke to has said, I've just developed this for Ireland first and we see what happens. We don't do it, which is why I feel that when we do enter these markets, we do well, because we're building for them from day one. We're always looking at the UK. We're always looking and saying, how does this scale? How does this move? How does it move from different locations? And I think that is one of the advantages that we carry over, say, some competitors that are already embedded into let's say London, for example, who will build for that market because it is a big enough market to build from.
Yeah.
But we tend to.
You're right, because we've all through NDRC and through Enterprise Ireland, you do your cash flow forecast, and then you apply your Irish column, and it's grand. It'll maybe sustain a few people, but you kind of apply those numbers then across the water in the UK or into mainland Europe, and it's like it just blows up. Like, so, obviously you temper that with a bit of that initial breaking into the market. But I mean, you're absolutely right. I think the day you go building something just for the Irish market, you're only going to go so far.
That's the one thing that we get pushed on from the off, is that to sort of think global, think ambitiously, which is great. We've gone through a full episode out talking about COVID or Brexit. I think it's a first, which I'm happy about. But tell me, I mean, obviously we can't ignore it. What's the plan for the next 12 months?
I guess the next plan, I mean, we're looking to really, I suppose, consolidate. Again, I suppose I won't say we're biting off more than we can chew. We've got big mouths, so we can chew quite a bit. But we have a 3-pronged approach, really. Like, the local authorities is very much, I won't say it's heavy lifting, but it's very much kind of a hand-holding exercise in terms of we need to engage with them it's very much a relationship built on trust and a partnership built on trust. So us going and meeting them and having conversations. We're hoping to have 4 of the local authorities signed up by the end of the year. I'd be very confident of that now at this minute. So they give us a good solid base in terms of the good solid customers. They give us good solid revenue, so it gives a nice base to work from. Then I suppose with big work with the domestic market, we're looking to push that out now in early August. So that'll be very much, through social media. I'm sure it'll be popping up in front of everyone's social media feeds. So that's kind of something that we're looking to target out. And then the commercial side of things, so the Addjust products for capital works, we already have that going on a number of public works projects as well, so single public works projects, and we're looking actually bring that more out into the private sector. So into some of our ideal clients would be like maybe retail stores who have ongoing refurbishment, or big factories and big companies, or data centers, that kind of thing, who are constantly building and constantly engaged in construction contracts. So
brilliant.
That probably will be a slower grow, but look, there's a busy 12 months ahead.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. We wish you all the best with it, Padraig. Where can people learn more about you and Addjust?
Yeah, so they can go to Addjust, addjust.io. We're actually redoing our website there as well, so maybe in about 3-4 weeks we'll have a lot more information on the 3 different products as well. So so Addjust.io, or they can shoot me an email if they want to padraig.neylon@addjust.io as well, or LinkedIn as well. So
brilliant. We wish you all the best, Padraig. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ciaran.
Chat soon.
Thanks.
Cheers. Bye.